Because I put the V word, vegan, in the title of my talk, I just want to start by reassuring you and managing expectations. I'm not here to convince anyone that they have to go vegan. I'm not here to sell it to you. In fact, I'm here to show you that you can keep doing your business, but experiment with small diet and lifestyle tweaks that will bring you a greater feeling of integrity in your life, and that you can work on just a little bit at a time. And when I say integrity, what I mean is that sweet spot between what we know, what everybody knows, what we believe, and what we do. And at the intersection of those three zones here is what I call my happy place. And it's a good feeling when you feel that your beliefs, your knowledge, and your actions are in line. And it's very extremely difficult to achieve. And I think, anyway, for me, it's a lifelong pursuit. But let's start with the knowledge part, if you don't mind, because there's gaps there, right? But I think we can all agree pretty much on some knowledge. The first fact that I want to bring up is that plants promote health. Okay, vegetables are good for you. I'm sure your mom told you that. So this should not be earth-shattering knowledge here today. The second fact, it's pretty uncontroversial within animal science, is that animals like us feel pain and they have emotions. If you have a dog, you know that your dog has emotions and you connect with each other, and they also have empathy, right? And cats, not so sure. They have feelings, but dogs certainly do. And all mammals certainly are undebatably sentient beings, right? So we can all agree upon that. A third fact that I think we can all agree upon is that 100 billion, that's 1 with 11 zeros after it, is a really big number. And it's a number that has a big impact if it comes true with anything. And so imagine now 100 billion animals slaughtered for food every year on the planet. And that's a lot of dejections. That's a polite way to say like poop and pee. That's a lot of air pollution. And unfortunately, that's also a lot of greenhouse gas emissions and a lot of space that we need to grow their feed. That stuff is also mostly non-controversial. The big international organizations all agree upon that, that our increasing our consumption of meat, dairy, and eggs is really taking a toll on the planet. So there's nothing controversial there, but what about action, right? We're informed of those realities, but we're pretty busy people. We have priorities, we have jobs, we have sometimes health conditions that may or may not be related to the diet. And doing something for the planet, for the animals, even for our own long-term health and vitality, it can be kind of abstract or just not that urgent compared to the other priorities that we have. And I don't blame anyone for not turning vegan tomorrow, and we'll go back to that in a sec. But I don't judge. And I was actually raised on a farm. Here's a picture of my dad in his 20s. Look at this dashing man who was milking a cow right there. I was raised on a dairy farm for the first few years of my life, and my grandfather had a farm as well. I knew how the sausage was made. Let's put it that way. We had pigs after the cow, so I know where that meat comes from. I've been an avid tree hugger my whole life. Learned about recycling when I was in elementary school, and I had all that knowledge, but I was not connecting the dots. And it took me until I was 35 years old to stop consuming 300 pounds of animal products per year. That's 150 kilos. That's just the average. 200 pounds of meat, 40 pounds of cheese, another 40 pounds of eggs, and add fish on top of that. I didn't count it, but that's the average. And when everybody does that, it makes a lot, right? But I was 35, as I say, when I started just thinking about it and reading more about animal agriculture. And so it was a bit of a shock for me, but I didn't do anything about it, really, for at least 18 months. And it took me almost 2 whole years before I decided to start identifying as vegan, coming out of my food closet. And a lot of my vegan friends that I have today are really not, seeing eye to eye with me about this baby steps idea that we can just do tweaks and that's it. It's good to start. I think some people like them, they start with a very, very strong reaction when they cross the mirror and they look at animal agriculture and they're completely shocked by what they see, rightfully so. And they just have to transform their lives right away. And I have so much admiration for them. It's hard sometimes to deal with them because they really don't see things like a lot of people. But when in my work as a vegan educator and as a vegan coach, I see people dealing with real life obstacles that make it really hard to embrace some pretty serious lifestyle changes. And they're not like making excuses. They just have very valid reasons for which it's not happening for them right now, okay? And I get that. So I want to say that's okay, but let's think about some little tweaks. I'm going to give you the gift of some little tweaks that you can use to change your own lifestyle for the better. And I suggest that you pick one of those tweaks and you do it as an experiment diligently for 30 days. I mean, you can make it 2 weeks if you have to, but I think 30 days is a good duration for a habit experiment. Just pick one of those 5 that I'm just about to give you, and you try it diligently, right? You put a real effort to it and see how it goes, and you assess the results, and then you decide what to do the following month. So for January, pick one of those 5. And I'm going to start right away with my favorite tweak. Number 1, start with sweets. Okay, who doesn't like brownies, right? Well, the best brownies, I think, are vegan. So make it a rule for yourself to eat sweets, snacks, and treats that are free of animal products. Again, just for 1 month, okay? No meat, obviously, but no dairy, no eggs in your sweets. And that's a tough one to avoid sometimes. No gelatin, because by the way, gelatin, like in gummy candy, there's vegan options out there, but most of it that's commercial comes from boiling skin and tendons and hooves together. Anyway, it's gross. Don't have that. So leave those aside and instead pick the animal-free options. If you're baking, please don't try to veganize your own recipes, just in case it doesn't work. Go for the pros. Okay, this lady here, Isa Chandra, she is the queen of vegan baking. She has a few books that I don't have, unfortunately, because I'm not much of a baker. But it's about vegan cookies, vegan cupcakes, and vegan pies. Like, if you like to bake, look her up. She has all the tricks that you need. If you prefer ready-made stuff and you go to the coffee shop, in the morning or in the afternoon for a little pick-me-up, you have to know that Starbucks has now a number of options you can ask, but trust me, the almond butter dark chocolate cups by Justine's, they're vegan and they're really dangerous, but go for the dark chocolate ones. And if you like vegan cookies, I really recommend you check out the independent coffee shops in your area because there's some really good vegan cookies there. The good news is that if you're the kind of person who has a bit of a sweet tooth and you kind of like candy bars, they're really hard to find, the vegan ones. And so that might help you let go of that habit for at least, again, just 1 month. Within a month, at the end of that month, you will find out what brands actually are dairy-free, and you'll find out that they're a little bit more expensive because dairy is not subsidized. And dairy is heavily subsidized, but the dairy-free versions are not. So by then, you will be able to indulge your sweet tooth with commercial processed food again. Vegans can make that too, okay? Don't worry. So start with the sweets, option number 1. That's the easiest one. The hardest one is number 2, ditch dairy. It's a topic I'm quite passionate about, I admit. And it's harder to ditch dairy than it is to let go of meat, according to most people I know. And the reason is not because there's dairy in everything, because it's nuts. Like, even salt and vinegar chips have milk products added to them. I don't know why they do that, but they do. So you have to kind of read labels if you like things that come in a package. But the real reason why it's so hard to get rid of dairy is because the feel-good stuff that's in mother's milk that keeps babies coming back to their mom, because nourishment from their mother's milk is how they grow and thrive, right? Well, that good stuff that's in human mother's milk is also in cow's milk. Because cows don't make milk because they're cows. Cows make milk because they're mothers, right? And when they have their first baby, they start lactating like women, like human women. And they're pretty hormonal. The baby cows get taken away and they get sent to slaughter pretty quick. And the mother cows get re-impregnated to keep the milk production going. And so all of those substances, the chemicals, the feel-good stuff that's in the mother's milk for humans is also in the cow's milk. And that's what keeps you coming back for more, especially cheese that has those chemicals in a very concentrated form. It's completely natural. I mean, it's not like we're adding the hormones, they're just there because it's a biological process. And it makes it really hard. The good news though, the amazing thing is that only 30 days, one experiment without dairy, and there's a pretty good chance that you're going to have some problems that maybe you considered were normal, like tummy aches and constipation or acne. They might just go away, because in many people, those problems are directly connected to their dairy consumption. If, as I said, I'm quite passionate about this, happy to talk about it more in the questions, but if you look up my Coach.me profile, it's up there in the comments. I have a no dairy in the coaching package that you can look into, and I would be really thrilled to work on you with that and see you bloom when you discover how awesome it is to live without milk. The tweak number 3 is an animal-free breakfast. Okay, wholesome toast with nut butter and like fresh fruit. It's so delicious. I like overnight oats with goji berries and hemp seeds, extra nutrition, green smoothies, granola. It's quite indulgent with coconut yogurt, but it's so good. I'm a breakfast person. I never, ever run out of option, and nor will you for the 30 days if you choose this experiment. If you prefer a hot breakfast and you have a thing for eggs, I recommend you try to Google up a tofu scramble. And what you need to make it extra magic is this little, well, yeah, I think you can see this little pink dust here. It's actually called black salt, another nonsensical name, or kala namak, I think in Indian. And now I'm going to smell like an egg sandwich all day, because it tricks your brain because of the sulfur in the salt. It tricks your brain into thinking that it's eggs. It makes like an awesome scramble, and some people may be a little bit confused because it's really quite delicious. And by the way, if you don't like pandemics, I don't like pandemics, I don't think most people do, the best thing you can do to contribute to preventing another one is to quit eggs. Because although pangolins are possibly a suspect in the current pandemic, the real danger comes from the avian flu style pandemics, and H7N2 is a lot more scary than the coronavirus. And the problem is that the flu viruses have a habit of multiplying and mutating in those big sheds where layer upon layer, I'm talking tens of thousands of laying hens in a single farm. And those hens are extremely immunosuppressed because they're extremely stressed, because they don't have anywhere to go and they can't have a natural chicken lifestyle. And so they're very sensitive to those viruses. And that's when we might eventually hit the lottery and find a new strain of avian flu that transmits really quick to humans. So think about it for 2021, just for 1 month. Try going without eggs, maybe try another tweak, go without poultry for a month, and see how it goes. Tweak number 4, that's a really fun one, actually. You should do that maybe all year round. Veg out. If you're cooking at home, do the same as usual. If you're ordering out or going to eat at a restaurant, if you're allowed to do such thing in your neck of the woods, pick something from the plant-based menu, from the vegan menu, okay? And I want to reassure you that just because it's vegan doesn't mean it's a salad. In fact, we have plenty of greasy, unhealthy vegan options available, and they're really, really delicious. It's almost a problem. If you want to know where they are, you get the Happy Cow app, or you can go to their website. And every city in the world, I'm not kidding, like from Prague to Lille in France, from Omaha to Hanoi in Vietnam, there's tons of vegan options in regular restaurants, but there's also a big trend with all vegan restaurants, and really you don't want to be left out of such a cool trend. So I recommend that you look one of those up and that you make your next eating out opportunity an opportunity to pick a plant-based meal. Just for 1 month, following month, you can try something else. If you've listened to me so far and you're like, Brigitte, this is nothing I can do. I love meat too much. I love dairy so much. I can't quit any of this. None of these 4 tweaks are for me. That's okay. I have one that you can absolutely try. Number 5, be a virtual vegan. A friend of mine who is a philosopher of ethics said that even if you can't be vegan, it's a good idea to promote veganism for the same reasons, because it's better for the health. You know, it doesn't cause suffering to the animals, and it's also better for the planet. And so an idea, if you want to try this virtual vegan thing, is just to support and subscribe to vegan social media feeds. Some examples. On Instagram, you go look for Easy Animal Free. She's an amazing woman from Vancouver, and she just shares these cool, easy recipes. There's also the Buddhist Chef is a great example, or Bosch. They make these cool like videos that show you how to make super simple vegan dishes easily. On TikTok, if you're that kind of person, I would be a failure on TikTok, but Tabitha Brown, she's so amazing. She's so loving, and she comes from a beautiful place. She's an amazing artist, but she's also completely plant-based, and she shares really cool stuff on her channel. If you're a little bit more nerdy like me, then I suggest you subscribe to my newsletter. The URL is above. I'll post it again, but it's tinyurl.com/vegan when you can. And that way you can get my vegan newsletter in the future. At the same time as you do that, why don't you unsubscribe or just snooze the meat-centric channels that you're following? And that way your brain won't be constantly struggling between the vegan stuff and the content that normalizes the consumption of animal flesh and secretions. And so you get to see more of the plant-based stuff. And you know what? The Facebook and Instagram and other algorithms are going to start showing you ads and insidiously tweaking your brain into being more open-minded about plant-based and vegan food. So it's a win all around. For once in a while, we can use social media algorithms for the better. So again, pick one of the 5 just for 30 days. First, you experiment for 30 days. Then you assess, how's it going? And then you tweak. And maybe you choose a different experiment for the following month. Not a problem. I really recommend that you keep in touch with me. Oh, I wanted to say, this is all for your reptilian brain, because that little part of our brain there that, you know, takes care of survival, that part of our brain needs to be reassured that there's food out there that can be eaten. That's not meat, not dairy, not eggs, and it's good, right? And so once we've reassured that part of our brain, it becomes a lot easier to get our minds and hearts open to other aspects of this beautiful way of living. So please keep in touch by signing up for Just a Nudge. I will copy again the address here. It's tinyurl.com/vegan when you can. I would love to get to know you. And you can also go on my coach.me profile and book yourself into a call. Sorry, I'm trying to type in the comments. Yeah, there it is. Look up my coach.me profile and we can have a little meeting, you and I, for 20 minutes and chit chat to see if we'd be a good fit to go on a plant-based journey together. I would love to get to know you and maybe travel a little bit together in a virtual way anyway. So I'm super happy to take questions if you have any. I haven't looked at the comments yet. I'm going to do that. If anybody has anything. Oh, yes. Did somebody ask about coffee? I saw a response about coffee. I should add, oh, for vegetarians, feta eggs are an easy way to spice up meals. What are your favorite ways to upgrade a meal? Excellent question. Thank you, Iris. What I like to do is sprinkle some nuts or seed on everything. They are nutrition powerhouses that have a lot of minerals that are a little bit more rare. And we have to realize that when we eat meat, we eat what the cow ate, right? Or what the chickens ate. And the chickens, for the most part, and the cows, they eat grass, right? Unfortunately, in the animals' feed, there's also some really gross stuff that comes from other animals, and it's really not safe. That's how we get stuff like mad cow disease, right? That's unfortunate, but for the most part, their diet is naturally a diet of grass. And all of those minerals that they get, that's why they're so rich in nutrition. So when we eat the seeds ourselves and nuts, it adds also a component. It adds a difference in mouthfeel. It gives a different taste experience when you have some, like a salad, and then you have a different color, like the hemp seeds. If the salad is green, the hemp seeds are white. It's visually pleasant. Or if you put walnuts on it, then you get the crunch that is different from the tender aspect that you would get from the lettuce. So definitely nuts and seeds are great for complementing. Also, vegans have a habit of putting nutritional yeast on everything. For myself, I make a kind of a sprinkling dust that is made of nutritional yeast, walnuts, and garlic or onion powder. And it adds that like finishing touch on a plate of pasta or a salad or a risotto or something like that. Those are two pretty good options for rounding up a meal. Of course, now there's a lot of vegan cheese options. I personally, I'm not a big cheese person anymore. There's some really good ones, but if you do want to taste a vegan cheese, please start by taking a 30-day break from cheese entirely. Because cheese is a really powerful thing, and it really plays quite the number in our mouths and our bodies. And if you're eating plant-based cheese, and then you have the memory of the animal-based cheese, your mouth is going to say, like, that's not a party, right? That's not good enough. So I think it really helps to clear the memory of the animal-based cheese before we can really engage in a fruitful way with plant-based cheeses. Lori, you're asking, is soy-based cheese dairy-free? Most of it is, but there's a brand that we have here that's really strange that is actually full of lactose, and I don't know why they do that. I think it's or it's actually not lactose. I think they use whey. Anyway, they add dairy protein into the cheese. I think their main purpose is to reach out to the people who are lactose intolerant, and so they create a soy-based product, but they still add some dairy products in it. I don't know why. It's actually, one time I was at a friend's house and she made this lasagna for me, and she was like, oh, I got vegan cheese. And I had all the lasagna, and then she says, oh, here it is, the package. And I saw it was the one that has the milk in it. It's really quite delicious. There's definitely less dairy in it, but it still has a lot of animal protein. Let me show you, since I'm in my kitchen. This here is Nutritional Yeast. Bob Renmill, you know, the brand that sells flours. I'm mixing it here with my black salt. It's kind of flaky yellow dust, and it has something that's called the umami, right? The fifth taste. And it really has like a bit of a cheesy thing to it. One thing that Dipanshu just said that reminds me also, being in a vegan community, if you want to be a virtual vegan, it's a good idea to join a Facebook group that's either plant-based in your city or vegan in your city, and just sit back and lurk and look at what people are talking about. And you're going to get all the gossip about the new vegan options and restaurants. and you're going to see what people are up to. And also, you're going to be exposed to some people activity and sharing the work that they're doing. And that's a good way to just, again, tune your ear to a different way of thinking, being, and doing. If there's any more questions, I will be happy to take them. If not, I hope that, I'll give you the link again here to see you on my newsletter, or hit me up anytime. URL vegan when you can. Here we go. Yeah, and if you need a recipe suggestion or whatever it is, it's all great. Oh, best vegan options for protein. Well, there's protein in practically everything. If you get enough calories in your day, even if you're eating just cabbage, right? I think you would need to eat 6 kilos of cabbage to get enough calories to go through your day, but there would be enough protein because cabbage has protein. It's crazy. But this being said, I think personally that beans and whole grains and nuts and seeds are really the go-to options to enhance protein. Some people, for whatever reason, need to have a little more because they're either doing bodybuilding competitions, or because they have certain medical conditions, or just because they're not quite yet accustomed to cooking, a plant-based diet. It's usually not a problem, but definitely go for beans and whole grains. Whole grains have a surprising amount of protein in them. People think of them as carbohydrates, and certainly they do have a lot of carbohydrates, but they do also have a lot of protein in them. And yes, even cooked cabbage. Don't do that, right? Don't go on a cabbage diet because some crazy lady at a conference told you that cabbage has protein. I'm just pushing the argument to the absurd to show that even like vegetables have protein. Broccoli has protein in it, right? The interesting thing about eating a plant-based diet is that the calorie density is much lower. So you really have a full stomach of kale, and that's like 50 calories. Whereas if you fill your stomach with cheese, that's 1,500 calories. Okay, so that's where the difference lies. But definitely all veggies and everything has protein in it. So that's really not a huge concern. And if you look at gorillas or buffaloes, water buffaloes, the strongest animals on earth, they eat grass, and it works for them. So I think it can work for us. Okay, well, my time is up. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. That was awesome to see you today. And I will see you in the greater universe, maybe on coach.me or in my newsletter, or maybe I'll head to networking now. And if anybody wants to chit chat, I would be happy to see you there. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a lovely day and eat more plants.